Adam Caplan is our NFL insider, and he's on his tour de Pharrell of training camps. And today he was in Virginia hanging out with the Commanders and Mr. Quinn. And it'll continue through the next few weeks. He's going out to the West Coast as well, so we're getting great coverage. So you were at the Commanders camp today. Where do they stand? And it's the first time you haven't seen Snyder around. They have to be relieved of that.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that. So this is their first year, really. This is Josh Harris, the new owner. So this is his first full year and his ownership group with the Commanders. So, yeah, and I'll tell you what, the pall that would come over this team, like the just the stench of Snyder and the negativity is gone. As someone high up at the Commanders said to me, "Oh, it's a new beginning." You've got, as you mentioned, Dan Quinn, the head coach, new offensive and defensive schemes. You've got a new quarterback, Jayden Daniels, who will be their starter week one. They haven't named him that, but he's going to start against Tampa Bay. And we'll get to their schedule, some other stuff that I learned today. But yeah, it's definitely that cloud is gone. There's no question. There's some optimism, but I do get the sense that they're not calling a rebuild, as this person said, a new beginning. They kind of knew who they are. They're not starting over. They have some good young players, but they understand, like, this is not a Super Bowl team. They don't need to say it. I can tell that they know kind of who they are. And what I find interesting is, that this is the team that a lot of fans point to on social media about, oh, this could be this year's Texans. I don't see that. The last year's Texans roster, yes, we didn't know, Scott, about C.J. Stroud and how great he would be, but the Texans had drafted well. They had a good mix of veterans and young players. Here with Washington, they've got Daniels, yes. They've got a very average offensive line. Remember now, the Commanders did talk to the Niners about Brandon Ayuk during the draft. They've got a new defensive scheme in here. They don't have a lot of pass rush. Remember, Scott, last year at the trade deadline, they traded both starters at defensive end. They've got sort of a rebuilt secondary here. They're kind of in a retooling of the roster. But I do like that they brought in Bobby Wagner. Guys won a Super Bowl. Zach Ertz has won a Super Bowl. Austin Ekeler is going to be a good veteran backup running back for Brian Robinson. But they kind of knew who they are. This is a team that knows that they're kind of on the way up here. But the odds makers clearly, Scott, are telling you the way it is. It's 6.5. The over is minus 125. But the over, Scott, if you look at the over at 7.5, it's plus 165. So the odds makers see it like I do. I see this as a 6 or 7 win team. They're not a playoff team. To win the NFC East, they're plus 1,100. But just talking to people there, they like that they had all these draft picks, had a lot of new talent on both sides of the football, but they're going to be coached up, and they've got a long way to go here.
Well, look, I believe in Dan Quinn. I think he's a good coach, but all I need to know, and I heard it right out of your mouth, is that they don't have an offensive line, and their pass rush is terrible. So they got rid of their two best pass rushers. So the NFL is one in the trenches. So when you have a terrible offensive line and no pass rush, they'll be lucky if they win 6 games.
Yeah, I don't see it's terrible. I think it's very average. But I'll tell you what, they love Brandon Coleman, their third-round pick out of TCU, who's going to start at whether it's guard or left tackle, he's going to wind up starting. But, yeah, it takes time. One thing you have to understand in the NFL, you can't solve every issue in one offseason. Remember being in John Lynch's offense many years ago, the GM of the Niners, and he's got this placard that says you can't solve every issue in one offseason. You can't. Remember Adam Peters also. The front office is brand new. Peters came in from the aforementioned Niners. He's got a job on his hands here, but they've got their quarterback. There's no question about it. And how about in Hard Knocks? The Giants made it clear. They talked about it. If Jayden Daniels was close to them, they would have traded up and tried to get him.
Well, look, I think Jayden Daniels is a very exciting player. And from what you're telling me, he's going to be running for his life.
Well, no, he will run. But it's funny you say that because with Cliff Kingsbury, their quarterbacks will run. There's no question about it. By the way, Marcus Mariota, another running quarterback, is going to be their number 2. But yeah, this is going to be a slow build here. They've addressed their secondary. They addressed the running back position with Ekeler. Addressed the tight end position with Zach Ertz, who I mentioned. Ben Sinnott, a second-round tight end who I saw at the Senior Bowl from Kansas State, who I really like. Great Senior Bowl week. They're going to be a team the fans are going to be excited about because there are a lot of good young players. But, again, you got to let this team have time to gel here. And that division now is so top-heavy with the Cowboys and, of course, the Eagles. And the lines makers giving the Eagles the clear favorite about -120.
So, talk to me about what they're doing defensively if they don't have a pass rush. I know they're going to kind of a 3-4 with Quinn, and we already have seen him coaching the Cowboys defense. So, what is their plan if they don't have a pass rush? What's the rest of that defense look like?
It's actually a 4-3, but as you mentioned, elements of a 3-4. They're going to stand up their pass rushers. I saw that today. This is what DQ did with Micah Parsons. He moves his linemen around. He does a really good job of doing that. They're going to be very strong at the safety position. They had Quan Martin last year, who was the second round of Illinois, who could be a nickel, he could play safety. Sandstrill from Michigan, who's a second rounder this year, who's very talented. I like that. And DQ is good at using personnel. But your cornerback, that just could be okay. Again, the pass rush, Dorrance Armstrong comes over from the Cowboys, who DQ coached with the Cowboys. And Cleveland Ferrell, by the way, this is an underrated signing. Cleveland Ferrell, who was a very big reach, as we know, with the Raiders many years ago as a first-round pick. Should have been a first-round pick. Should have been a late first, early second. But it kind of revived his career with the 49ers last season. He's probably going to start for Washington here. He's going to have a chance to kind of further his career here. But, yeah, look, again, next year in the draft, they're going to have to continue to address the offensive line, get more pass rushers, probably going to have to address corner. They're going to be decent at wide receiver. But I'm interested to see how Cliff Kingsbury kind of structures this offense. He likes a running quarterback. We've seen this with Kyler Murray with the Cardinals. We know what's coming. We saw that in college with Mahomes. So this is going to be a fun offense to watch here. But the bottom line is it's going to take them a while to be a winning team here. You're not. I don't see this as a winning team in year one.
So Thursday, you're going to see the Ravens and Eagles practice together in Philadelphia at the Link. And then Saturday, you're going to be in Irvine with the Saints and the Raiders in Costa Mesa. You're going to do that both on Saturday. Is that the plan? And then Sunday, you're with the Chargers and their new building, the Bolt.
Yeah. So basically, here's actually the way it's going to go. I'm going to be at the Ravens in the afternoon. Drive from Owings Mills in Baltimore area to Philly. The Eagles are going to have a night practice at the Link. And you're right, I fly to L.A. on Friday. And then Saturday morning, the Saints, by the way, so the Saints, because their cafeteria is not going to be done back in Metairie in Louisiana. So the Saints are practicing this week, or actually this month at UC Irvine. So I'll see them in the morning. And then in the evening, I'll see the Raiders. And then the next morning, yes, the Chargers will be hosting the Rams. Now, the Chargers finally have their own facility in El Segundo at the Bolt. Yeah, and it's I'm loving what the Chargers are doing there. And the odds makers are super gaga over the Chargers. I'm looking forward to being with the Chargers Sunday. I got to see this. I don't know why. I get it. Harbaugh is a winner. We all know that. He's won everywhere he's been. Niners, University of San Diego, Stanford, the Niners, of course, where he made the Super Bowl. Probably should have won it against the Ravens. But, man, but the odds are favoring the over. It's just it's hard to believe at 8.5. I don't see them as a winning team, but the public certainly sees them as a winner. I don't see it year one.
So Thursday, you're going to see two teams, the Ravens and Eagles, both working. And then Thursday night, Texans and Bears play in the Hall of Fame game in Canton.
Yeah, that's fun. You know, I've been to the Hall of Fame game many years ago, and usually the starters don't play. And I know Caleb Williams, by the way, wants to play, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be much, if at all. But that is another hype team. That is the hype team this year, is those Bears. And you and I talked about it. How about Matt Eberflus, the pick by many to be coach of the year? I get it. They're way more talented than they have been in recent years. But, Scott, that's a big hit there. I can't see with Matt Eberflus.